What's up, basketball fans? Welcome to the Warriors Report. It's time to talk about the Raptors and the 76ers and the one aspect that no one is really noticing about this series. Now, when we talk about these two teams, we are all focused on the playoffs and what's going to happen in the first round and who is going to win. But no one really stops to think about what could potentially happen if one of these two teams were to lose and what could impact the future of these two teams. So I will be breaking that down in today's video for both the 76ers as well as the Raptors. So if you're ready to watch this video, make sure to hit the like button. If you want to hit the subscribe button, that'd be very much appreciated as well. And I do have some exciting news to announce. I will be doing giveaways now, guys. So I will be doing a Pascal Siakam jersey giveaway as well as a Raptors replica ring, championship ring. I will be giving away that as well as a Raptors t-shirt. I know I've been saying it for some time that I will be doing giveaways, and the winners will be announced April 28th. So all you have to do to enter this contest is just comment below of when you became a Raptors fan and what made you become a Raptors fan, as well as subscribe to this channel and make your subscription public so I can see that you're subscribed to this channel. Once you do that, and once you comment below, I will enter your name into the entry and I'll pick out 3 winners on April 28th. But let's get into today's video. Now, as you guys know, I do like to give out shout outs on my channel. And for today's video, the shout out goes out to Amandeep Kaur. So Amandeep, thank you so much for supporting this channel. To likes and comments, it is very much appreciated. Now let's start with the 76ers and how this could impact the future of the 76ers. Now let's start with Daryl Morey. Daryl Morey not only had the entire offseason, but the entire half a season, which he waited to get the right player for Ben Simmons. There was a lot of lucrative offers he had from several teams around the NBA where he could have received certain players, but he refused those in hopes of waiting for James Harden. And props to him, he did get James Harden. But there will be a lot of questions in the offseason if James Harden performs poorly, because the 76ers did give up some key pieces, not only Ben Simmons, they gave up Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and some picks as well. So they gave up a lot of debt to acquire James Harden, who was supposed to be that player to really take them to that next level. And if the 76ers lose to the Raptors in the first round, this not only raises questions about Daryl Morey and his decision to acquire James Harden, but there's going to be a lot of questions surrounding James Harden as well, who wanted out of Houston to win a championship. He got to Brooklyn and he wanted out of Brooklyn. Now he comes to the 76ers. And if he doesn't perform well here, where does he go from here? Because we know he has a player option, whether he decides to opt in, whether he decides to opt out, whether or not the 76ers want to pay a 32-year-old with injury issues $50+ million. That's going to be a huge decision for the 76ers heading into this offseason, because let's be honest, when the 76ers, acquired James Harden, they were hoping to make not only a deep playoff run, but to be the favorites in the East, to get to the finals and win the championship. And if they lose to the Toronto Raptors, who of course are a really good team, it's not a bad loss, but to lose in the first round will be a bad look for the 76ers. And not only James Harden, there will be questions arising for Doc Rivers, because they fired Brett Brown, and Doc Rivers was supposed to be that coach to really take him to that next level. And this is not going to be a good look on Doc Rivers, who has had a history of choking in the playoffs. So there may be some coaches changes, there may be some roster changes for the 76ers. And of course, we have to talk about Joel Embiid as well, because Joel Embiid is having an MVP season and the Raptors don't have a legitimate center on their roster. So he should really have no excuse for dominating this series. But if he struggles, there's definitely going to be some questions that arise in the offseason, whether or not Joel Embiid is that player that can lead your team to the championship. So there's going to be a lot of questions surrounding the 76ers if they lose this series versus the Raptors. But now let's talk about the Raptors, because a lot of people say, well, the Raptors don't really have any expectations going into this season. A lot of experts, so-called experts, had the Raptors finishing in the play-in or not even making the playoffs. And the fact that the Raptors finished 5th is good enough, but there are going to be major changes for the Raptors as well. Don't get this the wrong way, because not only is Nick Nurse a very competitive coach, Masai Ujiri wants to win as well, but this is going to have a huge impact in terms, well, there goes my little Toronto Raptors flag, but we'll ignore that and continue this video on this blooper reel. But in terms of how this could change for the Raptors heading into this offseason, this entire offseason, I was hoping the Raptors would sign a center, which didn't happen. And of course, the Raptors went with the small ball lineup. The trade deadline passed, the buyout market came and went, and it seemed like the Raptors are fixated on the small ball lineup. But if the Raptors, which would be the ultimate test, I said it all season long, if we faced a team like the 76ers, and in particular Joel Embiid, how is this going to impact the Raptors? Do they ultimately decide that small ball lineup isn't working? And they also have some tough decisions heading into the offseason, because when you take a look at the Raptors salary cap situation, they will have some decisions to make, because their starting lineup of Pascal, Fred, OG, Gary Trent Jr., and Scotty Barnes, you're ultimately going to have to move one of these guys, because you're not going to put them on the bench. And if the Raptors do hope to acquire a center, they will have to do it through the trade deadline. I should say the trade, because when you take a look at the Raptors salary cap situation, you have Gary Trent Jr. and Fred VanVleet, who have one more year on their contracts, and then they have a player option, and in no doubt they will opt out because they want longer contracts, but also a pay raise as well. And the Raptors can only pay so many guys because they're already tied into their starting five, and they're paying them nearly $100 million. And when you take a look into next season, you take a look at the Raptors, I should say the NBA salary cap at $122 million, it doesn't really give the Raptors a lot of room to work with. So they might just have to make that decision of whether or not they want to continue the small ball lineup or ultimately acquire a center, because it is clearly not working. And in terms of just making decisions, in terms of Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. as well. So that's going to have huge implications on the Raptors if they perform really poorly during this series versus the 76ers, but just in particular of how they guard Joel Embiid as well. But I do want to quickly highlight some stats here for you guys. Now, when you take a look at the Raptors stats here in terms of how many points in the paint they allow their opponents, this is actually a very surprising stat, because the Raptors don't have anyone over 6'9", and their biggest center, it weighs only about 232 pounds. Yet the Raptors are 7th in the league in allowing opponents to score only 45.1 points per game. But I do want to show you some other statistics as well. Although the Raptors are doing a good job of holding opponents out of that paint and not allowing them to score at the rim, they're also giving up a lot of second chance points. In fact, they're 23rd in the league when it comes to giving up second chance points. So that just says that the Raptors are giving up a lot of offensive rebounds, and they are just allowing teams to hit those jump shots and also those 3-point shots as well, because I want to show you another stat which kind of backs up what I'm saying here. So in terms of defensive rebounding, the Raptors are ranked dead last in the league, 30th in the league in defensive rebounding. Yet, when you take a look at their offensive rebounds, they're second in the league behind only Memphis. Now, why is this that the Raptors are so good at offensive rebounds yet struggle so much on the defensive side? I think it's very simple when you think about this. The fact that when you're getting offensive rebounds, you need someone who's quick-footed, who has agile, who's able to get around players, who has length, and the Raptors definitely have that in Pascal, Scotty. They also have Precious Achiuwa, Khem Birch, and also Chris Boucher as well, who are fairly quick considering their sizes. But in terms of defensive rebound, the reason the Raptors struggle with that is because they don't have a physical body that can really box out. So I think that is why the statistics are the way they are. But it will be interesting going into this series to see how the Raptors perform with their small ball lineup, because I think this is the ultimate test, and we'll see this being put to the test against Joel Embiid and how they perform versus the 76ers. And the 76ers have a lot of pressure as well in terms of getting past the Raptors for several reasons, because of their roster construction. Daryl Morey, Doc Rivers is going to definitely be on the hot seat if the 76ers lose in the first round. So there's going to be a lot of storylines heading into this offseason. Regardless of who wins this series, it's going to be the 76ers. There's going to be a lot of question marks surrounding them if they lose, and the Raptors too if they lose. It might be some questions surrounding their roster construction as well. But I do want to hear from you guys. Do you think the Raptors, if they were to struggle against the 76ers and Joel Embiid, do you ultimately think we need to continue with the small ball lineup, or do you think they should acquire a center in the offseason? And if you're a 76ers fan as well, what roster changes could you see being made, or some management or coaching changes would you like to see if the 76ers lose to the Raptors in this year's playoff? I want to hear from both sides, and I want to hear you guys' thoughts in the comment section below, so make sure to do that. And I do have a trivia question for you today, and that is, which player leads the NBA this season in total points scored? So not points per game, but total points scored. Is it A, Joel Embiid? Is it B, Trae Young? Is it C, Luka Doncic? Or is it D, DeMar DeRozan? So whoever answers this trivia question correctly first in the comment section gets a shout out in my next video. So that will be it for today's video, guys. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have yourselves a great day.